Okay, good afternoon, class. So today I'm going to be discussing about receivable financing. So what is receivable financing? So these are arrangements or methods used to accelerate cash inflows from receivables by either selling or using it as a collateral for loan applications. So kapag sinabi nating receivable financing, normally these are methods used to accelerate the conversion of the receivables to cash. So it's either we sell it or we use the receivables as collateral for a loan. So how are we going to know if we are selling or we are just using it as a collateral for a loan? So, methods used to accelerate cash inflows are classified based on its characteristic regarding the transfer of receivable. So, class nakabase sa characteristics regarding dun sa transfer ng receivables natin. Which is nakabase siya if there is a transfer of risk and rewards of ownership from the receivables or not. So, kapag sinabi nating transfer of risk and rewards, it means that any risk and rewards associated with the receivables will be transferred to the transferee and will not be recognized anymore by the transferor. So, an example of transfer of risk is any probable defaults related to the receivable. So, if there is a transfer of risk and rewards, meaning yung probability na hindi mababayaran yung receivables, imbis na tayo ang magkaroon ng risk noon dahil na-transfer na natin ito sa transferee, sila na ang magkakaroon ng burden regarding the defaults, the probable defaults of the receivables. And sa rewards naman, if any additional income is recognized. So, imbis na tayo na lang ang magbe-benefit from receiving the additional income, once na there is a transfer of risk and rewards, so ibig sabihin nun, hindi na natin siya ma-recognize because na-transfer na natin. So class, going back, if there is a transfer of risk and rewards of ownership from the receivables, there is a sale of receivables. So class, kung meron ng transfer ng risk and rewards, sale of receivables na ang tawag natin doon. So, but if there is no transfer of risk and rewards of ownership from the receivables, it is only accounted for as secured borrowing. So, let's go first to the techniques or receivable financing techniques under sale of receivables. So, pag sinabi nating sale of receivables, i-review lang natin, there is a transfer of risk and rewards of ownership from the receivables. There is a recognition of the receivables. So, kapag ang pinag-uusapan natin is sale of receivables, lahat ng techniques or receivable financing techniques under sale of receivables, lahat ng receivables doon ay dinidi-recognize, tinatanggal na natin sa libro natin kasi nga binenta na natin siya, right? And also, dahil binenta na natin yung receivables, we will recognize a gain or loss from sale of the receivable if there is any. So, dahil binenta na natin siya in our books, pwede tayong mag-recognize ng gain or loss. Pwede rin namang wala if the carrying value of the receivable is also equal to the selling price or the amount of proceeds that we've received from selling the receivables. So, class, sa sale of receivables kasi, ang sabi rin dito, it is also without recourse, meaning responsibility for the payment of the receivable is disclaimed by the seller and risk falls to the buyer. So, once na sale of receivables na yun, di ba ang sabi kasi natin, there is already a transfer of risk. So, ibig sabihin, class, dahil tinransfer na natin yung risk, yung responsibility for the non-payment of receivable, it is already disclaimed by the seller. Yung nagbenta mismo ng receivables. O wala na sa kanya yung responsibility for the non-payment of the receivable. So, ibig sabihin, pag hindi nagbayad si customer dun sa receivable na yun, wala na tayong kumbagang responsibility to pay the unpaid accounts of the customer to the buyer. So, the risk falls to the buyer. So, ibig sabihin, si buyer na ang magkakaroon ng burden of the loss of not being able to collect it. So, sa sale of receivables, meron tayong dalawang methods ng receivable financing. So, we have factoring and discounting of notes receivable without recourse. So, itong dalawa na to, pag sinabi nating factoring, this is also called sale of accounts receivable. Pag discounting of notes receivable naman without recourse, this is the sale of notes receivable naman to financial institutions or any banks. So, under secured borrowing naman class, okay, pag secured borrowing, as discussed, there is no transfer of risk and rewards of ownership from the receivables. Here, there is no derecognition of receivable. So, kung sa sale of receivable, dinede-recognize na natin yung receivable account natin from the books once na binenta na natin siya. Sa secured borrowing naman, we don't de-recognize the receivable. It is still in our books, naka-record pa rin siya doon. And also, it does not recognize any gain or loss. Hindi naman kasi natin siya binenta. So, here, in secured borrowing, ang sabi dito, it is still with recourse, meaning the responsibility for the non-payment of the receivable is still assumed by the borrower. So, risk is still with the borrower. So, class, yung sa secured borrowing kasi, ang nangyayari lang dito, ginagamit natin yung receivables natin as collateral in order for us to have a loan or borrowings para mas mapabilis yung paghihiram natin ng pera. So, dito class, normally, kapag kinolateral natin or pinledge natin or ginamit nating pang-secure yung receivables natin for our loan applications, yung receivables na yun, yung responsibility nun pag hindi nabayaran, it is still with us. Kasi nga sabi, no transfer of risk. So, lahat ng risk associated with the receivables that we use as collateral, nasa atin pa rin iyon. So, yung mga methods used under secured borrowing are as follows. So, discounting of notes receivable with recourse. So, second is pledging and third is assignment. So, isa-isahin natin to lahat. Yung mga methods under sale of receivables and secured borrowing. So, for sales of receivables, yung number one method is factoring. So, ang sabi natin, this is also called the sale of accounts receivable. So, it is said it is an outright sale of accounts receivable. The factor or the buyer handles both the billing and collection of accounts receivable. So, class, dahil binenta natin yung accounts receivable, yung factor, which is the buyer of our accounts receivable, siya na mismo yung naniningil doon sa mga customer natin and also nangongolekta ng accounts receivable. So, si customer sa kanila na nagbabayad imbis na sa atin kasi binenta na natin eh. So, under factoring, a gain or loss from sale of the receivable is recognized by comparing the proceeds received versus the carrying amount of the accounts receivables factored. So, dahil sale of receivables ito, we normally recognize a gain from factoring or loss from factoring. So, ano yung kino-compare natin dito? Siyempre, the purchase price or the proceeds received versus the carrying amount of the accounts receivable factored. Yung value nung amount. So, any difference is recognized as gain or loss from factoring. So, there are instances, the factor or yung buyer mismo ng receivables natin retains a portion of the purchase price to cover any probable sales discounts, returns, and allowances, and such an amount is recognized in the receivable from factor account. So, class, para maprotektahan syempre yung buyer, wherein in the future, what if yung receivables pala mababawasan pa yung collection nun because meron palang probable sales discounts, may return sila customer, or allowances. So, ang nangyayari, si buyer, once na binenta natin yung receivables natin, yung purchase price, portion nun, may hino-hold back siya. Normally, a percentage of the purchase price may hino-hold back siya. So, ang tawag doon, factors hold back, or we recognize that amount that was hold back in the receivable from factor account. So, this is a receivable account in our part. So, imbis na ma-receive natin yung buong proceeds from the sale of our receivables, may portion na hinold back pa si factor or buyer of our receivables. Pero in the future naman, ibabalik din naman sa atin yun. Isi-settle din yun ni factor or ni buyer once na na-settle na yung receivables ng mga customers natin sa kanila. So, sabi nga dito, any sales discount, return, or allowances are charged to this account. Any remaining balance in the account is settled after the factor receivables are fully collected. So, kapag may sales discount, return, or allowances, so receivable from factor siya charge. So, yung amount na hinold back niya, normally, mas mababawasan yung inaasahan nating ma-receive in the future if there is any sales discount, return, or allowances na nangyari. So, to illustrate, para mas maintindihan natin yung concept ng factoring, so, we have an example here. So, Explorer Company finances some of its current operations by factoring its accounts receivable to a finance company. So, on July 1, 2019, the company factored 2 million of its accounts receivable to Atlas Finance Company. Purchase price was 85% of the receivables factored. So, class here, yung July 1, binenta natin yung accounts receivable natin na worth 2 million. And the purchase price is 85% of the receivables factored. So, kung mapapansin natin, kung i-compute natin yan class, yung 2 million multiplied to 85% is 1.7 million. So, Atlas will held 5% of the purchase price as a protection against sales returns and allowances. So, dun sa purchase price na 1.7 million natin, yung 5% daw nun, hinold back. So, dahil hinold back siya, which is equivalent to 85,000, imbis na ma-receive natin yung buong 1.7 million, babawasan pa siya ng 5%. Which is i-hold back yan ni factor or ni buyer ng receivable para maprotektahan siya sa sales returns and allowances. So, this 85,000 will be recognized as a receivable from factor. So, sales returns recorded by Explorer on the factor accounts receivables totaled 30,000. The balance of the factor's holdback was settled by the finance company on August 31, 2019. Okay. So, pag ganito yung problem class, ang first thing na kailangan nyo lang gawin is to compare the purchase price of accounts receivable doon sa amount of accounts receivable factored. So, here, the purchase price of the accounts receivable as computed class is 1.7 million. Nakuha natin to by the 2 million accounts receivable na binenta natin multiplied to the 85%, which is equivalent to 1.7. And the carrying value or the amount that of the accounts receivable na binenta natin is 2 million. Comparing these two, we have a loss from factoring kasi mas mababa yung presyo na binenta natin yung receivables natin. Imbis na 2 million ma-receive natin, 1.7 lang. So here, we have a loss from factoring of 300,000. So, this is a loss na i-recognize natin in our book. So, also, it was said in the problem class na si factor, mag-hold back siya ng 5% of the purchase price, which is yung 1.7 million na to multiplied to 5%, which is 85,000. So, sa entries natin on July 1, at the date of factoring, our entry will be as follows. So, magde-debit tayo ng cash na 1,615,000. Bakit 1,615,000? Because class, 1.7 yung purchase price. Kaso nga lang, nag-hold back ng 5% si factor, si Atlas Company. So, ibig sabihin, sa 1.7 million, which is the 5%, yung 5% dun is equivalent to 85,000, hindi niya muna ibabayad sa atin, yung hold niya yung 85,000. So, ang marireceive lang natin at the time na finactor natin yung 2 million is only 1,615,000. Yung difference sa 1.7 and 85,000. Then next, also, we are going to recognize in our entry as well yung receivable natin from the factor, yung hinoldback niya na 5%. So, debit, receivable from factor of 85,000. So, then, debit also of the for the loss from factoring na 300,000, which is na-compute natin dito, then credit accounts receivable na 2 million. Diba, as discussed, from sale of receivables, we normally recognize the receivable account. So here, as you can see at the date of factoring, yung accounts receivable natin na 2 million, recognize natin. So, ang effect niyan, mababawasan yung accounts receivable natin ng 2 million. Then, next, ang sabi dito, sales returns recorded by Explorer on the factored accounts receivable total. So, may sales returns tayo pertaining dun sa factored accounts receivable natin na 30,000. So, dahil may sales returns, ang effect niyan is we are going to charge that to our receivable from factor account. So, debit sales returns and allowances na 30,000, then credit receivable from factor na 30,000. So, dahil meron tayong sales returns and allowances, yung inaasahan natin na marireceive natin na 85,000. Instead na lahat yan marireceive natin. Dahil nagkaroon ng sales returns and allowances, mababawasan na yung isa-settle sa atin ni Atlas on August 31. Sabi niya dito, the balance of the factor sold was settled by the finance company on August 31, 2019. So here, as you can see, class, yung balance na lang is 85 less 30,000, nabawasan ng 30, right? So, yung matatanggap na lang natin na cash from the factor sold back would be 55,000. So, debit cash 55,000, then credit receivable from factor na 55,000. So, that's it for the factoring. So, next naman, class, na receivable financing technique under sales of receivables is through discounting of notes receivable without recourse. So, class here, ito, imbis na ang binibenta mo naman is accounts receivable, dito, ang binibenta naman natin is notes receivable. Normally, under discounting a notes receivable without recourse, ang ibig sabihin nito, class, we are selling the notes receivable to a bank or a financial institution wherein the seller does not have any continuing involvement with the note anymore because there is already a transfer of risk and rewards to the bank or any financial institution. So, dahil binenta nga natin siya, this notes receivable, at the time of discounting, i-recognize na natin siya sa libro natin. So, in discounting the notes, the bank or the financial institutions normally advance the maturity of the value of the note net of discount. So, this is the proceeds received from the discounting the note. So, class, kapag nag-discount tayo ng notes receivable, syempre, instead na ang inaasahan natin is marireceive natin yung maturity value, the whole value of the note. Syempre, hindi natin inaasahang marireceive natin ng buo yan kasi si bangko nagcha-charge yan ng discount. So, at the time na diniscount natin yung notes natin sa bangko, nakanet na, nakabawas na yung discount niya. So, normally, yung amount na discount na yun is computed as follow. So, paano ba siya kino-compute? So, ang sabi dito, it is computed as the maturity value multiplied to the discount rate charged by the bank or any financial institution, then multiplied to the discount period. So, class, ano ba yung maturity value? Pag sinabi nating maturity value, that is the value of the note at the time of the maturity date. So, kung non-interest bearing note yan, yung face amount ng non-interest bearing note is already the maturity value. Pero kung interest bearing note yan, yung face amount, hindi pa yun yung maturity value. You need to first compute the interest for the whole term of the note, then you need to add that to the face amount to get the maturity value. So, ganun yun. So, it depends on the type of interest bearing note ba siya or non-interest bearing. So, imumultiply siya class saan? Sa discount rate. So, normally, binibigay naman itong rate na to which is charged by the bank or the financial institution kung saan natin siya binenta. And, minumultiply din siya class sa discount period. So, ano ba yung discount period? So, ang sabi, ang discount period is the period from the date of discounting of the note to maturity date. So, ito yung duration or period wherein from the date wherein din-discount natin yung notes up to the maturity date. So, parang ito na lang yung remaining term of the note. from the date of the discounting up to the maturity date. So, kung, for example, yung non-interest bearing note natin na 100,000 is na-receive natin siya ng January 1 from our customer, and ang term nun is for 1 year lang. So, ibig sabihin hanggang December 31 lang, hindi na tayo makapaghintay class. Hindi na natin mahintay yung December 31 kasi kailangan na natin ng cash. Kailangan na natin ng cash. So, gusto natin mapabilis yung conversion ng receivables natin into cash. So, ano ginawa natin? Binenta natin siya. Diniscount natin siya sa bangko. So, binenta natin siya on July 1, 2019. So, nung July 1, 2019, binenta natin siya, yung discount period is from the date of discounting up to the maturity date. So, going back dun sa example ko, kung ang date of discount natin is July 1 at ang maturity date natin is December 31, ibig sabihin, yung discount period natin is for 6 months. So, yun, pag nakuha mo na yun, i-multiply mo lang din yung period na yun. So, maturity value multiplied to the discount rate, then the discount period. So, kung yung discount rate normally class, it is an annual rate ha. So, kung 6 months lang yung kanina, you need to allocate it for 6 months out of 12. So, here, also in the discounting of the notes receivable without recourse, a gain or loss from discounting the note is recognized in the books by comparing the proceeds over the carrying value of the note. So, at the date of discounting, interest must be accrued to arrive at the carrying value of the note at the date of the discounting. So, class, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. So, dahil sale of receivables din naman yung discounting of notes receivable, you also recognize a gain or loss from discounting. So, ganun din. You need to compare the carrying value of the note versus the proceeds from discounting the note. So, no liability will be recognized in the books because there is already a transfer of risk and rewards to the bank or any financial institution. So, the notes will be recognized. So, dahil sale of receivables ang discounting of notes receivable without recourse, the notes receivable will be recognized. Kaya kasi may nakalagay na without recourse dito, ang ibig sabihin nito, once na si debtor or the one who issues the note, dinishonor niya yung notes niya wherein hindi siya nagbayad kay bangko, automatic na kay bank or financial institution na yung risk of not being able to collect. Siya na yung, kumbaga, yung sasalo ng loss for not being able to collect the notes from the debtor or the issuer of the note. So here, wala talaga tayong i-recognize na liability, and also i-recognize na natin yung notes receivable. So, para mas maintindihan natin yung concept ng discounting of notes receivable, let's apply this to a problem. So, an example here is, ABC Company had a 12%, 300,000 notes receivable dated January 1, 2019, due on December 31, 2019 from DF Company. On July 1, 2019, ABC Company discounted its note to XYZ Bank at a discount rate of 15%. So, class, the first thing that you need to do here is to compute first the maturity value. So, ito class, kung mapapansin natin, yung type ng note natin dito is an interest-bearing note. Kasi tingnan nyo, may 12% stated rate. So, 300,000 with 12% interest, which is due on December 31. So, for 1 year siya. So, to compute for the maturity value of this note, what are we going to do? So, yung 300,000 multiplied to 12% will get 36,000. So, at January 1, ang value lang talaga ng note natin is 300,000. Pero after 1 year, the maturity value of our note is already 336,000. So, this is the total amount that we are expecting to receive on December 31, 2019. So, nung July 1 class, ang sabi dito, diniscount or binenta natin siya sa XYZ Bank at a discount rate of 15%. So, nung July 1, tignan natin dito sa diagram na to. So, nung July 1, 2019, at this date, binenta natin yung notes receivable natin. So, ibig sabihin, class, hindi na natin hinintay hanggang December 31 para makolekta yung notes receivable. Binigay na natin agad or ibinenta na natin agad kay XYZ Bank on this date. So here, at the date of discounting, we need to recognize the proceeds from discounting our note. So, how are we going to compute that? So, as discussed, yung proceeds natin is computed by the maturity value less the discount. So, syempre, kailangan makuha muna natin yung discount. Dahil na-compute na natin yung maturity value na 336,000, let's compute first naman yung discount. So, discount is computed as what class? The maturity value multiplied to the discount rate, then multiplied to the discount period. So, here class, kung mapapansin natin, yung discount rate natin, ang sabi dito sa problem is 15%. And the discount period class, as discussed kanina, this is the period from the date of discounting up to the date of maturity. So here, sa problem na to, ang date of discounting natin is July 1, 2019 and the maturity date is on December 31, 2019. So yung discount period natin is 6 months. So, to get the discount amount, so 336,000 times 15%, which is the discount rate, multiplied to the discount period of 6/12. Kasi this discount rate is for annual. So, we'll get 25,200. So, yung proceeds from the sale of note is how much na? So, it will be computed by deducting the 25,200 to the maturity value of 336,000. So this is the amount that we are going to receive from discounting the note. So the next step is, class, we are going to compute now the gain or loss from sale of notes. So, ang sabi natin, we are just going to compare the proceeds versus the carrying value of the note. So, here, class, yung carrying value of the note natin will be computed as follows. Kasi na-compute na natin, plus, di ba, yung proceeds. Magkano yung proceeds? Yung 310,800 kanina na-compute natin. Yung carrying value of the note naman, paano siya mako-compute? So, di ba, yun yung amount of receivable that we are expecting to receive from our debtor. So, yung notes receivable natin is 300,000. That is the principal amount. And the interest receivable at the date of discounting is how much? 18,000. Paano to nakuha? Kasi class, at the date of discounting, we need to accrue the interest that we are expecting to receive from the debtor. So, from January 1, 2019 up to June 30, 2019, may interest na talaga tayong na-recognize for the 6 months. Right? So, paano nakuha yung 18,000? So, from the 300,000 multiplied to the 12% times 6/12 will get 18,000. So, ito yung interest na inaccrue natin from January 1 up to June 30. So, as of July 1, or June 30, 2019, yung carrying value ng note natin or the amount that is not yet paid by the debtor to us is 318,000. So, this amount will be compared to the proceeds that we've computed kanina. So, by comparing this to, ito yung proceeds na inaasahan natin. Pero ito yung carrying value ng note natin. So, mapapansin natin class dito, mas malaki yung carrying value doon sa na-receive natin. So, we're going to recognize a loss on sale from discounting of the notes of 7,200. So, ano yung effect yun sa libro natin? What is the entry? So, on the date of discounting, syempre, on July 1, 2019, bago natin ibenta yan, we need to accrue first for the interest na na-earn natin from our notes. So, as of January 1, July 1, sorry, debit interest receivable of 18,000, then credit interest income for 18,000. Then next is we are going to record the amount received from discounting the notes to a XYZ bank. So debit cash 310,800, debit loss on sale of notes receivable 7,200, then credit notes receivable 300,000, then credit interest receivable 18,000. So, i-recognize na natin yung notes as well as yung accrued interest. Kasi, ito class, marireceive na to ni bank eh. Sila na yung tinransfer na natin yung fees and rewards from receiving this amount. So, on December 31, 2019, at the time wherein nagbayad na si debtor kay bank, we don't have any entry anymore because regardless the note is honored or dishonored at maturity date, there will be no effect in the books because the notes was already recognized in the books. Meron na kasi class transfer of risk and reward. So, regardless na i-honor yun ni debtor or hindi, walang effect sa libro na natin yun. So, that's it for discounting of notes receivable without recourse. So, next, let's go to secured borrowing naman. So, ano yung mga receivable financing techniques under secured borrowing? So, we have discounting of notes receivable without recourse naman. So, halos the same lang din naman yung process dito. Kaso nga lang, the concept is different. Kasi, sa discounting of notes receivable with recourse, binenta mo yung notes receivable mo sa bangko. Kaso nga lang, meron pang habol sa'yo si bangko once na hindi nagbayad si debtor at maturity date. So, sabi nga dito, discounting of notes receivable without any recourse means selling the notes receivable to a bank or financial institution wherein the seller still have a continuing involvement with the note. So, once the note is dishonored, the seller is still responsible for the payment. So, class parang nangyari dito, meron ka pa ring utang kay bangko. So, the process of computing the proceeds of discounting the note with recourse is the same with the note discounted without recourse. So, same lang rin class yung process kapag kinompute yung proceeds. So, paano ulit? So, the maturity value less the discount amount. Then, no gain or loss is recognized from selling the note and no direct recognition of notes receivable is done because there is no transfer of risk and rewards of ownership from the note. So, class dito, dahil under secured borrowing dito, parang nangyari nang hiram ka lang ng pera kay bangko. Kasi nga class, once na hindi nagbayad or dishonor ni debtor yung notes, ikaw pa rin ang magbabayad kay bangko. So, here, we don't recognize any gain or loss from selling the note or we don't de-recognize the notes. So, ibig sabihin, nasa libro pa rin natin yung notes receivable. Hindi natin siya tinatanggal sa libro. Pati yung accrued interest. So, to better understand this receivable financing technique under secured borrowing, mamaya, i-apply natin siya dun sa same problem. So, at the date of discounting, only a liability account called liability on discounted notes is recognized in the amount of proceeds received. So, it is just like borrowing money from a bank. But a note is instead used as a collateral for the amount borrowed. So, ito nga ang sabi ko sa inyong class. Nung binenta mo yung note, parang nangyari, naging collateral lang si notes receivable. Kasi at the date of discounting, you are just going to recognize the amount of proceeds. So, debit cash for the amount of proceeds received from discounting the notes. Then, you credit what? Instead of recognizing the notes receivable, what you are going to do is you are going to recognize a liability account which is called liability on discounted notes. So, yung amount na i-credit mo for this account is equivalent to the proceeds received from the bank when you discounted the note. So, both interest earned on the notes receivable and interest incurred on the discounted notes must be recognized. So, yung interest na na-earn from the notes receivable, kahit din-discount mo yan, nire-recognize pa rin natin kasi nga, walang transfer of risk and rewards. Pati yung interest incurred on the discounted notes. So, yung discount class, yung discount na chinarge sa atin ni Bangko, we recognize that in our books as interest expense. If there is no notice of protest, meaning the notes was paid at maturity by the issuer of the notes to the bank or financial institutions, both the notes receivable with any accrued interest and the liability on discounted notes must be derecognized. So class, dito, sinasabi lang dito, for example, at maturity date, hindi naman nagprotesta si bangko na hindi nagbayad si issuer ng note sa bangko. Ang mangyayari lang dito, class, yung notes receivable natin and also the accrued interest as well as yung liability on discounted notes, i-recognize natin, mawawala na siya sa libro. Tatanggalin lang natin siya. Kasi nga, nagbayad na. So, if there is a notice of protest naman, meaning the notes was not paid at maturity by the issuer of the notes to the bank or financial institutions, the seller of the note will pay the maturity value plus any other charges, protest fees, bank charges, and etc. And the total amount paid by the seller will be charged to the accounts receivable in the name of the issuer of the note. So class, what if si issuer ng note hindi nagbayad or dishonor niya yung notes niya at the time of maturity date? So, ang mangyayari dyan, magpaprotesta si bangko. So, ang mangyayari class, nung nagprotesta si bank, siya ang mangyayari, tayo nang magbabayad nung notes na diniscount natin sa kanila. So, kapag binayaran natin iyon, syempre, we are going to recognize yung liability on the discounted notes. And also, syempre, yung notes receivable na yun kasi binayaran natin. Pero yung amount na ibinayad natin for the notes, kaya dinirecognize na natin yung notes receivable kahit alam natin hindi pa nagbabayad si issuer ng note. I-charge na natin siya to the accounts receivable account kasi nga it is already due. Babalik na naman tayo sa concept wherein class, diba, ang criteria in order for an item to be still considered as a notes receivable, it should still be not due. So, ibig sabihin that not due na siya. Kaso dito, due na siya. So, yung binayaran natin yung notes receivable, ang mangyayari dyan, i-recognize natin yung notes receivable. Pero, we are just going to reclassify that as accounts receivable. Yung binayad natin dun sa notes receivable kay bangko, i-charge na natin yun dun sa accounts receivable in the name of the issuer of the note. So, later on, makikita natin yan sa example para mas maintindihan. And lastly, also both the notes receivable with any accrued interest and the liability on discounted notes must be derecognized because this was already paid at maturity by the seller. So, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina. So, kapag may notice of protest, kahit sabihin hindi naman binayaran yan ni issuer ng note, i-recognize pa rin natin yung notes receivable, pati accrued interest, pati liability on discounted notes. Kasi binayaran natin. And also, kaya natin din-recognize itong notes receivable and any accrued interest. It's because it is already due. Hindi natin siya pwedeng i-stay sa notes receivable account and also yung accrued interest kasi they are already due eh. So, we are just going to reclassify the notes receivable plus the accrued interest to the accounts receivable account. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina dito. So, let's go to the problem para mas maintindihan natin. So, using the same example scenario under without recourse, but assuming it is with recourse at the date of discounting, the entry will be. So, ganun pa rin class yung problem. So, on July 1, nung diniscount natin siya, imbis na ang entry natin, di ba remember, nag-accrue tayo ng interest and after that, nung binenta natin siya, nag-recognize tayo ng cash and also a loss from discounting right here. Instead of doing that, what we are just going to do on July 1, hindi na tayo mag-accrue ng interest kasi inaasahan pa rin naman natin tayo ang magre-recognize ng risk and rewards from the notes receivable. So, kahit on December 31 mo na siya i-recognize yung interest, okay lang. So, dito on July 1, ang ginawa natin, yung proceeds from the notes receivable when we discounted the note with recourse. So, i-recognize lang natin yung proceeds sa libro natin, yung amount na yun, as debit cash na 310,800, then credit liability on discounted notes, 310,800. So, parang at the date of discounting, nung diniscount natin yung notes natin, parang hiniram lang natin yung pera sa kanila. Kasi tignan nyo, nag-recognize ka na liability on discounted notes. Kaya nga, under siya ng secured borrowing. Kasi, it's just like, you're just using the notes receivable as a collateral in order for us to borrow to the bank or to the financial institution. So, on December 31, 2019, wala namang notice of protest. So, ibig sabihin, nagbayad si debtor or the issuer of the notes at maturity date. So, our entry will only be, we are going to recognize the liability account of the 310,800 debit. Then also, we are going to recognize the interest expense. So, yung interest expense na to is based on the discount charged to us by the bank. So, naalala yung computation kanina. So, this is the discount amount that we've deducted from the proceeds of the, we've deducted from the maturity value of the note. So, ito yung interest expense. So, December 31, i-recognize natin interest expense. Then, credit interest income na 36,000 kasi at the date of maturity, syempre, i-recognize na natin yung interest income na 36,000. So, then, also, yung notes receivable, i-recognize na natin kasi binayaran na siya. The 300,000. Plus, may instances dito wherein yung maturity date is on the next accounting period. So, yung interest expense, saka interest income dito, you need to allocate that. So, as of December 31 lang yung i-recognize mo. Kung kunyari, next year pa ma-mature yung note. So, at December 31, for example, hindi pa naman yun yung maturity date, pero that is your reporting period. So, on December 31 class, you still need to recognize an interest expense pertaining doon sa discount on notes receivable, then also yung income na na-earn natin from our notes receivable. So, pagdating ng next year or at the date wherein matured na yung notes receivable, yung natitirang interest expense na kailangan nating i-recognize and also yung income, i-recognize din natin. So, dito kasi sakto December 31 din yung maturity and also the reporting date, kaya lahat. So, class, what if naman, if there is a notice of protest? So, assume the company paid protest fees as well of 5,000. So, class, dito naman sa scenario na to, on December 31, hindi nagbayad si issuer of the note. So, anong nangyari? Nagprotesta si bank. Sinabi niya hindi nagbayad and nag-charge ng protest fees na 5,000. So, on the date of protest, or at the maturity date of the note, you're going to have an entry wherein you are going to recognize the liability on discounted notes of 310,800. Then, you are going to recognize the interest expense of 25,200 and also yung interest income, mag-recognize ka rin na 36 and hindi recognize mo na rin yung notes receivable na 300,000. Bakit? Kasi you are going to pay that Instead of making the issuer of the note pay the notes receivable to the bank, hindi niya nga binayaran. So, parang mangyayari, you are the one who is responsible to pay for the notes and also the accrued interest. So, kaso class, nag-charge pa ng 5,000 na protest fee. So, ibig sabihin, at the date of protest, nung nagprotesta si bangko, ang babayaran mo, hindi lang yung 336,000, which is composed of 300,000 principal, pati yung 36,000, but also the protest fees of 5,000. Kaya mapapansin mo dito class sa entry natin, may credit cash na 341,000 and nag-debit ka na accounts receivable na 41,000 kasi this is already charged doon sa issuer of the note. Hindi natin pwedeng i-retain yung liability niya dito sa account na to. It's because, bakit class? Kasi nga, this is already due. Diba, as you remember, class, part of our discussion, ang notes receivable, in order for an item to be considered as notes receivable, it should still be not due. Kaso due na to. So, accounts receivable na siya. So, that's it for discounting of notes with recourse. So, next, pag-usapan naman natin yung another receivable financing method under secured borrowing, which is pledging. So, pag sinabi nating pledging, madali lang naman to, class. This is also called the general assignment of accounts receivable. So, kaya siya general assignment of accounts receivable kasi all accounts receivable are used as collateral for a loan. So, kapag nanghihiram tayo ng pera, so one way para magkaroon tayo ng cash, imbis na babenta natin si accounts receivable, ginamit na lang natin siya as collateral for borrowing arrangements, di ba? So, at the time of pledging, no entry is made in the books pertaining to the pledge accounts receivable but needs disclosure in the notes to financial statement. So, class, kapag nag-pledge tayo ng accounts receivable natin, walang entry ginagawa sa libro. Ang ginagawa lang natin, class, we only do a disclosure in our notes to financial statement stating that this amount of accounts receivable is pledged in order for us to borrow this amount. So, parang ganun. Ini-state lang siya sa, or dinidisclose lang siya sa notes to FS. And the only entry in the books when we borrowed is related to the loan obtained, which the company recognizes as a liability. So, kapag nag-borrow tayo, plus yun lang yung ini-entry natin. So, yung receipt of cash and also the recognition of liability. But regarding the pledging of the accounts receivable, we don't have any entry regarding that. So, para mas maintindihan natin, may example tayo dito. So, class, on March 1, 2020, ABC Company issued a 200,000 10% interest-bearing note to DF Finance Company due on February 28, 2021 for money borrowed. So, ABC Company pledged the 400,000 outstanding accounts receivable as collateral for this loan. So, si ABC nanghiram siya ng pera. Interest-bearing note siya, class. Nanghiram siya kay DF Finance. So, para syempre, mas faster yung approval ng paghihiram or paglo-loan sa bangko, nag-pledge si ABC ng outstanding accounts receivable niya in the amount of 400,000. So, on March 1, class, anong entry? Yung entry lang natin, class, is regarding the recognition of the liability, which is debit cash 200,000 and credit notes payable of 200,000. So, class, diba, as discussed, we don't have any formal entry or any entry regarding the pledging of the accounts receivable of 400,000. So, on March 1, this is the only entry that we need to do. So, as of December 31, 2019, what will happen if this is our reporting period? So, we need to accrue for the interest. So, i-accrue lang natin yung interest natin for this 10 months. So, this is computed by, syempre, 200,000 times 10% times 10 over 12. So, you get this amount. So, next, yung last na pag-uusapan nating receivable financing arrangement under secured borrowing is yung assignment. So, this is the last. So, assignment is also known as specific assignment of accounts receivable. Bakit specific assignment ang tawag? Because specific amount of accounts receivable are identified and used as collateral for a loan. Ang difference nito sa pledging, class, sa pledging kasi lahat pinipledge or ginagamit as collateral. Dito naman, you specify the amount only or it is only a portion of the accounts receivable you identified as a collateral for a loan. So, here, at the time of assignment, there is a formal entry done by debiting accounts receivable assigned and crediting accounts receivable. But this entry does not have an effect to the total accounts receivable balance because it is still reported as part of the accounts receivable. This entry merely specifies the amount of accounts receivables assigned. So, class, kahit tinransfer natin siya sa accounts receivable assigned, it is still part of the accounts receivable. So, if you were asked kung magkano yung balance ng accounts receivable, kahit may accounts receivable assigned ka, part pa rin siya. Parang, in-specify lang natin siya. Dinisclose lang natin or parang sinegregate mo lang siya. Pero, part pa rin siya ng accounts receivable natin. So, assignment can either be under non-notification or with notification basis. So, under assignment class, yung assignment, pag-a-assign natin ng accounts receivable, pwedeng under notification or non-notification basis. Pag sabi natin non-notification basis, yung mga customers natin, they are not informed that their accounts are used as a collateral for our loan. So, ibig sabihin, dito sa non-notification, si customer, dahil they are not informed, they still directly pay to us. So, kapag naman with notification basis, yung mga customers natin, they are informed that their accounts are used as a collateral for our loan. So, normally, they directly pay their accounts to the bank or dun sa bangkong pinaghiraman natin pag notification basis. So, under the non-notification basis, customers are not notified that their accounts are assigned, so they pay to the assigner or borrower. Under the non-notification basis, customers are notified that their accounts are assigned, so they directly pay to the assignee o yung nagpahiram. The assignee or lender informs the assigner of the amount collected. So, class, syempre, sa notification basis kasi, di ba si customer, they directly pay to the the bank or the assignee, yung nagpahiram. So, class, once na nagbayad sila dun sa bangko, yung assignee o yung nagpahiram sa atin, they normally inform us na nakolekta na nila yung amounts. And they normally apply the collected amount at the interest and principal of the loan. So, class, normally, yung amount na nare-receive nila, they apply it first to the interest and any amount that is remaining from the collection, it will be applied to the principal of the loan. Pero class, what if there is an instance na na-apply na sa interest and na-apply na rin sa loan at meron pang natira? So, ang sabi dito, any excess collection shall be remitted to the assigner or borrower. So, class, if si assignee o yung lender, yung pinaghiraman natin, nakakolekta, na-apply niya na yung amount na nakolekta na yun sa interest and also the principal, pero meron pa ring natira, yung any excess collection, ibabalik yun sa atin. So, once the amount of liability is fully settled, the balance in the accounts receivable assigned is reverted back to accounts receivable balance. So, class, pag na-settle na yung utang natin, dun sa pinaghiraman natin, yung accounts receivable assigned account natin, ibabalik na natin sa accounts receivable balance. If at year end, there is still a balance in the liability account that needs to be settled using the assigned accounts, the assigner is required to disclose in the notes to financial statement the equity in the assigned accounts, which is the excess of the accounts receivable assigned balance over the liability balance. O class, additional requirement class, kapag nag-assign ka ng accounts receivable or you use an accounts receivable as a collateral for a loan is you need to disclose in the financial statement yung equity in the assigned account. So, if at year-end, meron pa rin tayong balance sa liability natin, yung hiniram nating pera, may balance pa rin tayong hindi nababayaran, class, kailangan nating i-report or i-disclose sa notes to FS natin yung equity in the assigned accounts or yun yung excess ng accounts receivable assigned balance over the liability balance. So, i-compare lang natin, class, doon sa accounts receivable assigned natin, magkano yung, kumbaga, yung matitira after inabsorb o pinareflect na yung balance ng liability. So, for example, at the end of the year, meron kang 100,000 na AR assigned, tapos may existing liability ka pa dun sa hiniraman natin na 50,000. So, yung equity in the assigned accounts na i-report natin dun is the 50,000 na excess. So, kaya nga siya equity in the assigned accounts, ibig sabihin, yung sa atin. Parang sa atin na talaga siya mapupunta. Kasi nga, yung 50,000, parang dun sa inassign mong 100,000, alam mong mapupunta na talaga yung 50 na yun sa liability. Yung matitirang excess na yung 50,000 equity sa atin na yun. Sure na sa atin. Kaya, part of the requirement if you assign an accounts receivable is you need to disclose to the notes to FS the equity in the assigned accounts. Eh, ma'am, may instances ba na mas malaki yung liability sa equity in the assigned accounts? Plus, you don't need to report anymore kasi class wala ka ng equity, mas malaki pa nga yung liability mo eh. So, wala. Basta class hanggang ano lang yon. So, normally, if there is an excess, you need to report that to the notes to FS. So, ang sabi class dito, the balance of the loan plus the interest thereon was remitted to Pacific Bank on October 31. The balance of the assigned accounts receivable was reverted to Lexus. Class here. So, syempre, ang balance na lang kasi class dito ng notes natin is how much? 350,000. Paano naging 350 bago tayo magbayad? Because 650 siya originally. Nabawasan siya ng September 30 ng 350,000 na. So, ibig sabihin, meron tayong inaasahang interest na i-charge sa atin na 3,500, which is na-compute to based on the 350,000 multiplied to 12% times 1 over 12. Kaya 3,500 siya. So, ito, debit interest expense 3,500, then debit the remaining balance from our notes receivable na babayaran, then credit cash na 353,500. And also class, on October 31, we are going to revert back the accounts receivable assigned to the accounts receivable account. So, yung remaining balance na lang ng accounts receivable assigned natin is 90,000. Paano nakuha yun? So, di ba before, 800, nakakolekta ng 300, 500 na lang, nakakolekta ng nagkaroon ng write-off, nabawasan ng 10,000, nakakolekta ng 400. So, ibig sabihin, class, ang natitira na lang, 90,000. So, class, dito, ito na yung entry natin for the October 31, yung pag-revert back nung natitirang accounts receivable assigned. So, what if under notification basis class naman ang scenario? Ibig sabihin, si customer, inform siya na yung accounts receivable nila or yung accounts nila are used as collateral. So, the scenario here is the collection is applied first to interest then to principal. So, class, si bangko, once na nakolekta yung cash from the customers natin, ina-apply muna na sa interest, then yung matitira sa principal. So, on September 1, sa libro natin, ganun pa rin ang entry. Then also, ganun pa rin yung entry sa pag-receive ng cash. Pagdating ng September 30, dun lang magkakaroon ng difference class. Sa September 30 kasi, ang unang makakaalam kung sino yung unang makakaalam kung nagbayad na si customer, syempre si bank kasi sa kanila magbabayad. So, once na ni-notify tayo ni bank na nagbayad na, so ito yung magiging entry natin. Kasi normally, class, ang sabi dito, they applied first the collection to the interest and the principal. So, ang sinabi ni bangko, ay nagbayad na ng 300,000. So, yung 300,000 na yun, ang mangyayari, yung interest muna yung babayaran, kukunin doon sa 300,000. So, yung interest, same pa rin ang computation. So, sa 300,000, after applying the 6,500 interest, yung matitira na 293,500, yun lang ibabawas sa notes payable balance natin. So, ito yung magiging effect sa libro natin. So, pagdating naman ng October 2019 regarding the write-off, ganun pa rin yung entry. Pero pagdating na October 31, 2019, nung nagbayad na si customer kay bank, sabi 400,000 daw yung binayad. So, yung entry naman nating class dito, magbabago at pati yung balances din. Bakit? Kasi class here, as of October 31, bago magbayad si customer, yung notes payable natin is 650, right? nung September 30, ang nabawas lang dyan sa principal natin is 293,500. So, ang matitira na lang talaga sa notes payable natin nung October 31 bago siya bayaran is 356,500. So, when we compute for our interest, it will be based on the 356,500 balance. So, yung 356,500 multiplied doon sa 12% times 1 over 12, you'll get 3,565. So, this is the interest expense that is charged to us by the Pacific Bank. So, i-apply muna itong interest dun sa collection na 400. Then, any remaining balance is the next one to be applied to the 400. Kaso nga lang, class, yung 400,000, sobra-sobra pa para bayaran itong interest tsaka yung 356,500. So, ibig sabihin, si bangko, sobra yung na-receive na collection from the customer. So, as discussed, class, any excess will be reverted back to us by the bank. So, syempre, on October 31, may inaasahan tayo, o marireceive tayong 39,930, which is the excess of the 400,000 and the interest expense and notes payable na binayaran natin kay bank, which is binayaran directly ni customer kay bank. So, after that, on October 31, dahil na fully settled na, yung accounts receivable assigned natin, i-revert back na sa accounts receivable account. So, this is also the entry. Debit accounts receivable, 90,000, then credit accounts receivable assigned, 90,000. So, if for example, Lexus Company has a fiscal year end of September 30, 2019 daw, so hanggang September 30, 2019 lang, the equity in assigned account shall be disclosed in the notes to FS in the amount of 143,500, which is the difference between the accounts receivable assigned balance as of September 30 and the outstanding balance of notes payable of 356,500. So, sa example na to, class, kunyari, ang reporting period is September 30. So, as of September 30, you need to get the balance of your accounts receivable assigned and the balance of your notes payable. So, by comparing these two, the excess, which is yung excess ng accounts receivable assigned dun sa balance natin, will be reported as equity in the assigned accounts sa notes to FS. So, yun yung 143,500. So, paano nakuha yung equity in the assigned account? So, 'di ba, as of September 30 kasi, magkano na lang yun? 500,000. So, 500,000 compared to the 356,500. So, yun yung 143,500.